Well, good morning, everybody. Is everyone in the press back there? You all good? You can hear me and everything? All right. We're here today to announce an executive order, but first I need to provide a little bit of context. If you followed my professional career at all or my career as an elected official in the legislature, you know how important new Americans are to me and to the city of Buffalo. They're responsible for the first population growth that we have seen in 70 years. They're moving into vacant houses. They're stabilizing neighborhoods. They're opening businesses, revitalizing commercial corridors, and putting kids in our schools. Buffalo today would look a lot different without new Americans. In the state legislature, I work closely with Assemblymember John Rivera to create the New York State Enhanced Settlement and Resettlement and, let me do that one again. In the state legislature, I work closely with Assemblymember John Rivera to create the New York State Enhanced Settlement and Resettlement Program. Over the years, we've secured more than $30 million in state funding to help refugee resettlement agencies to help people resettle in the city of Buffalo. Unfortunately, the federal policies are putting these people and these agencies at risk. Federal immigration enforcement is creating fear and confusion in communities that have helped Buffalo grow. We've known for a long time they're not targeting violent offenders. They're not targeting the worst of the worst. The federal government is changing the rules of the game, and they're now going after people who did it the right way. They're sweeping up people with legal status. They're waiting outside of immigration hearings. They're detaining school children and targeting university students. And if that wasn't bad enough, U.S. citizens are being killed on the streets in broad daylight. The videos are disturbing. Renee Good and Alex Preddy were gunned down while exercising their constitutional rights. None of this is making our country any safer. We have an unaccountable federal police force that's terrorizing U.S. cities and U.S. citizens. It's time for the federal government to put a stop to it. For now, we're controlling in the city of Buffalo what we can control. My administration has worked with advocates and professionals and looked at what other cities have done to keep their people safe. Today, I'm signing an executive order prohibiting the use of City of Buffalo resources or personnel for civil immigration enforcement. This applies to all departments in city government. I want to be clear. This will have no impact on our ability to assist with criminal enforcement. We're still going to honor judicial warrants. We're still going to arrest violent criminals regardless of their immigration status, but we're not going to expend city resources on civil immigration enforcement. It's important to know that this is how the city of Buffalo currently operates. We're codifying the current culture. We're not changing behavior. Regardless of your views on ICE, this shouldn't be controversial. But people need to understand there's a big difference between criminal and civil offenses. Cities don't enforce federal civil laws. The City of Buffalo Police Department doesn't track down people who didn't pay their taxes to the IRS. Buffalo police don't arrest people for parking violations. Why? Because those are both civil matters. Even if we wanted to get into the business of civil enforcement, we don't have the resources. It's the federal government's jobs. So I'm formalizing this today because I want City of Buffalo residents to know that they are safe when they're interacting with their city government. ICE's actions have had a chilling effect on both new Americans and long-term citizens. We don't want fear dictating people's uses of our city services. We don't want people to be afraid to come to City Hall because they're afraid someone is going to call ICE. A city can't function if residents are afraid to call the police, if residents are afraid to call the fire department or ask for any other city services that they're entitled to. This executive order draws a bright and necessary line. The city of Buffalo will continue to enforce the law, will continue to cooperate on criminal matters and keep our neighborhoods safe, but we will not be part of the federal civil enforcement agenda that does just the opposite. Buffalo has always been the city of good neighbors, and today I'm putting that principle into writing so everybody and every resident of the city of Buffalo knows where we stand. Does anyone have any questions?
Sean, are you afraid that given the Gestapo-like tactics device, you're putting the city under their microscope on their radar screen?
So first and foremost, my responsibility is to the people of the city of Buffalo. You know, I can't not act to protect the people of the city of Buffalo because I'm afraid of what a chaotic leader in Washington might do. First step, we protect the people of the city of Buffalo.
Should, there be some kind of federal enforcement role here in Buffalo, what are you prepared to do in response? What resources are you prepared to expend?
I thought I was pretty clear on that. We're not expending any resources on civil enforcement of federal immigration laws.
But let's say you get DHS or CBP or ICE, agents on the streets. What role are the cops going to play? What role are other city agencies going to play?
None.
How will you enforce this? So how will you know if a city employee has a device or not?
This is something we follow up. So if we hear reports, then we'll enforce it. But the first thing we want to do is make our policies crystal clear to the people who work for the city and the people who use city services. So once the policies are crystal clear and people know what their roles and responsibilities are, we expect people to follow those rules. And as for what happens next, we're already talking to our state government. We're already talking, to our county government. We're working through different possible scenarios of what happens next. But today, I'm concentrating on what we have control over, and what we have control over is making sure that every city of Buffalo resident, regardless of immigration status, can feel free and safe to interact with City Hall. As I said, we don't want people not calling the police department if a crime occurred because they're afraid that somehow questions will be asked about immigration status. We don't want people afraid to come to City Hall to get a dog license or to make a report of unsafe living conditions, because they're afraid that it'll trigger a federal response. It will not trigger a federal response, and we want everyone living in the city of Buffalo to feel safe, to be able to send their kids to school, to be able to go to work, and also to be able to interact with city government without fear.
I know that ICE has been the big headline maker, but considering that they work with other federal agencies like CBP, I just want to clarify, does this qualify for all of those different agencies?
Yeah, very clearly said all federal enforcement. So there's all different departments that could work on this from the federal government, and you've seen around different American cities, there are federal enforcement agencies and federal officers from all different departments, and this applies to all of those departments.
Have you heard from any counters in government whether Buffalo or Western New York might become a target for escalated enforcement?
No, we're following the similar path that Rochester, Syracuse, and New York City have already taken. And we drafted this, very carefully. There are federal rules about sharing information with the federal government for grants that we receive. So this executive order was very carefully crafted to make sure it is not a foul of any current federal law.
So your executive order also seems to include that you want city agencies to report to you if they are asked by the federal government. Is that happening?
So far, no, but we want people who work in city government also have questions, and they're afraid because they watch the national news and they want to know, where can ICE or any federal immigration people go when they come into City Hall? Where can they go without a warrant? So in addition to the executive order, Maki, we will be putting out memos for city employees so they know, exactly what their rights and responsibilities are in this instance.
What should they do with
Report
it?
of an incident where ICE has come in and harassed either citizens or businesses in any way, shape, or form?
Do I know of any? Yes, there have been enforcement office actions, throughout the city. People putting on roofs have been arrested. Restaurant owners on the west side have been picked up. Families didn't hear from them from weeks and weeks on end. So yeah, there are enforcement efforts going on, throughout the city of Buffalo.
Any recent ones, or those are from last year?
I don't get briefed on what the federal government does. They don't share that information. So what we know is what we hear when citizens call and tell us these things are happening. And, they have questions about what was going on.
You hear the term sanctuary city thrown around with policies like this. Is this what this is establishing in Buffalo, or is this curtailed or written, like you were saying?
I don't really know what sanctuary city means. I know it's often used as like a pejorative, like as an insult. So I'll just call this an order that makes everyone who lives in the city of Buffalo know that they are safe and they can avail themselves to city services.
Considering that this just codifies something that was a practice that was already established, and yet you are saying that there are still some concerning things happening with federal immigration, what do you say to people who are out there who are looking at what's happening and saying, this doesn't really change anything, I'm still scared, et cetera?
Can't take away everyone's fear of what the federal government is doing. We want to provide people as much security as we can, and that's why the sort of unwritten policy is going to become a written policy, and it'll be formalized. I want seniors to go to senior centers, regardless of their national origin. I want people's children to go to after-school program, regardless of their national origin. So we want people to know that by interacting with city government and availing themselves to city services, that's not going to put an investigation in place that could lead to them being picked up.
Have you had a conversation with the police union about this? Are they on board with, this non-cooperation order?
We've had continuous conversations with the police commissioner through this.
If you're not expending any resources to this situation, if ICE were to come to Buffalo in any capacity, how does that prevent them to do anything that they've done in the past couple months?
The answer to that is local and city governments have very little control over federal authorities in what they're doing. So, there is no magic wand to make the Trump administration stop terrorizing U.S. cities, U.S. citizens, and new Americans. We wish there were, but that's why I clearly called on the federal government to stop this wrong-headed policy and this wrong-headed use of resources that aren't going after the worst of the worst, that are not making us safer. I don't think anyone can see the film clips of Minnesota or Chicago and say, boy, thank God the federal government put all those resources there. Those cities are now safer. Those cities are traumatized and are in a state of shock. People are avoiding going out in the city of Minneapolis, no matter your citizenship.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Well done.